Hello guys, from this video I am starting a new video series on ASP.NET. So what is ASP.NET? ASP.NET is a server-side web application framework which was developed by Microsoft and which allows the programmer to make a dynamic website, web services or web application. And if you want more details about what ASP.NET can do, you can always go to www.asp.net. Here you can find lots of information about ASP.NET. Now, for developing ASP.NET, you definitely want a tool on which you can develop your ASP.NET framework or application. So we use Visual Studio for developing our C# or .NET based application, which is also from Microsoft. And Visual Studio in itself is expensive IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, but they also provide the free version of Visual Studio with the name of Visual Studio Express. So when you write in your search engine or on your browser Visual Studio Express, the first link you will see here is Visual Studio Express, and when you go inside that, you will be able to download the free edition of Visual Studio. Now what version of Visual Studio we want is this Visual Studio Express. Whatever is the latest version, it will come here, and we want the Visual Studio Express for web development. So just click it and choose your language and just install your Visual Studio Express. Okay, and it's very easy to install it, just a few clicks and you will be able to install Visual Studio Express on your system. Now once you have installed Visual Studio on your system, you can just go to your start button and just click it and open Visual Studio. Okay, and once it's open, we can make a new project or new website using ASP.NET inside this Visual Studio IDE. So what we can do is we go to this file here and we say new, and you can choose either of them. You can choose a project or you can choose simply a website if you want to make a website using ASP.NET. So I'm going to choose this website from here, and it will open a file dialog which will ask you what kind of website do you want to develop. In here you have two options for making your ASP.NET framework website. Either you can make it with Visual Basic and or you can make it with Visual C#. I'm going to use Visual C#, and the first option I will choose here is Visual.NET website. Okay, and here you can also give the name of your website from here. So for example, I will write here my website. Okay, and then in here you can also choose a file or folder wherever you want to save your project. So I will leave it as default and I will click OK. And once you click OK, it will generate all the files which are required by your ASP.NET project, and it will generate a few files here. You will see here in the Solution Explorer you have some files, which is, for example, I will open a file from here. default.axpx. So this is the code which is automatically generated by your ASP.NET project, and it creates a lot of content when you create your project. It has about page, it has default page, and you have this environment. And in here you will be able to see three tabs. And right now we are in source tab, and when you click here design tab, you will be able to see the front end of your website. So by default it generates a sample website for you, which you can then edit and make custom website according to yourself. And it has automatically generated this home tab and about tab for you, which are there also in your solution. Now, by the way, solution and project I haven't explained you. A solution is a system in which you can create number of projects. So a solution is basically a container for projects. In solution you can make different project, and the project is your actual project which you have made. Okay, and the solution have the extension. When you right click your solution and you go to open folders in Windows Explorer, you see your solution is here and it has some extension. So your solution has extension. For example, I will right click and go to the property, and my solution has extension .sln. Okay, and when you have this solution, you can also have this project, and this project has the extension. When you right click and go to open in Solution Explorer, you have the project here also, full project. Okay, now I have explained you what is this design, this source, and you can also see both of them at the same time, your source code and your design view. When you click the split, it will show you the source code and whatever is the outcome of your source code in the form of design, you will be able to see here. Now I have by default the Solution Explorer open, this property explorer open, and this toolbox open. And if you are not able to see these perspectives in your Visual Studio IDE, you can always go to Visual View and you can open Solution Explorer from here. You can open your toolbox here, which is this toolbox, and your Solution Explorer is this. If you can't see this Solution Explorer, you can just go here and open here these perspectives from here. Okay, and you can also move this according to yourself wherever you want to have this on your Visual Studio. You can just drag and drop and just move there. Okay, so like this, and I can move this property like this. Okay, now by default, because we have created our project in C#, you have the file extension default.aspx.cs. This is the code behind file in which we are going to write our C# code. So this is the front end which contains HTML and CSS content, and there is one more file called .cs file. So when I click this .cs file, it has its own code. So this code we are going to use for writing our C# code. So when we need to write our C# code, so for example, I have this default ASPX code and I'm in the design mode, and I will go to the toolbox, and for example I will take a button and drag and drop into my application. Now this button has its own properties. So when you select this button, you have its text. You can click this you can click this button and go to the properties, and here you will be able to see all the properties of this button. You can change the text of this button, for example click me, or and you can also change the ID of this button, for example click B1 for button 1. And when you change this here, click underscore B1, and then when you go to your default ASPX.cs application, here you will be able to write the code for this button action perform. Now whenever you drag and drop this button, where is the code generated for this button itself? By default it will not generate the code for the button in here. It will just, you will be able to write the action perform methods and events in this code, in this default code. And in here you will be able to see all the global ASPX content. So this is the application content here, and when you click this default ASPX file, you will be able to see a button, and we have changed our button ID as click underscore ID underscore B1. I beg your pardon, and this is the text we have changed for our button. So this will come here. It will generate the ID for the button, and it will generate the text for the button, as we have changed the button properties from our property explorer. Okay, so this is done, and it will by default also generate a site.css file, which is a style file, cascaded style sheet. The full form of CSS is cascaded style sheet, which is a styling code for your website, and it will also generate some of the JavaScript and jQuery stuff, which we will see in detail in the later videos. And it has some HTML tags. So by default it will generate a lot of code if you have if you create your project. And now for example, when we run our program as it is, we haven't changed anything to our code apart from uh, changing the button name and dragging and dropping the button. And I will click OK, and it will show the solution, or it will run your solution in your default browser. So for example, uh, Google Chrome is your default browser. It will run your application. This is a project we have created, and it has home window, which is this, and this is the button we have created here, click me. It's not doing anything because we haven't provided any functionality to it. And it has this about tab, and it also have by default this login, but we will provide more functionality to our project in the later videos. So this was the project it has generated for you, and for now I think this is all. And in the next video I will show you how to add some more functionality to your site, how to make a dynamic web pages and all the other things. So I hope you have enjoyed this